almost robbed my whole gym. The whole gym. Like 70 kids without a gun.
He had no talent. That's what some people said when they watched Fat Joe rise to the top. But this is the same man who survived 3 decades in hip-hop. The same legend who built empires and trained future stars. Born in the South Bronx, Fat Joe became one of rap's biggest names. He created hit after hit and stood tall as an elder statesman of the culture. But here's the truth. Joe's journey to greatness was built on conflict. His career was a battlefield, and the wars he fought nearly destroyed everything he had worked for. So how did one of hip-hop's biggest names end up in so many costly feuds? Let's start with his most recent controversy. In the 2020s, Fat Joe made a bold claim. He said that Latinos were 50-50 responsible for creating hip-hop in the Bronx with black people. The statement exploded. Critics like Lord Jamar and Tyreek Nashid came out swinging. They said Joe was rewriting history. They argued that hip-hop's creation was a black American youth thing. Sure, Latinos participated early. They were vital to breakdancing and graffiti. But critics made a key point. There's a difference between creation and participation. Many early Puerto Rican breakdancers learned from black peers. They even called it Moreno style, which means black style. Lord Jamar put it bluntly, remove everyone from hip-hop except black people, and hip-hop would still be fine. Joe later softened his claim. He said black people invented hip-hop, but other cultures helped and were involved. But then he tied this debate to another issue. He defended his use of the N-word, saying he treats black people and Latinos the same way. This only added fuel to the fire. The cultural debate remains unresolved. For Joe, this wasn't just about history. It was personal. He grew up in a world where black and Puerto Rican culture blended together. In his Bronx neighborhood, those lines didn't exist. The criticism felt like an attack on his identity and his lived experience. He saw himself as part of the culture from day one, not an outsider looking in. So what do you think? Was Fat Joe's 50-50 claim a mistake, or was he just speaking his truth about the Bronx? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into hip-hop history, hit that subscribe button now. But cultural debates weren't Joe's biggest problem. His real battles cost him millions. Let's talk about the media war with 50 Cent. In 2004, Joe made a fatal mistake. He appeared on Ja Rule's song called New York. At that time, 50 Cent was destroying Ja Rule and his whole label. By working with 50's enemy, Joe became a target, and 50 Cent didn't play fair. He launched a full media blitzkrieg. 50 later admitted he was going crazy during this period. His philosophy was simple and brutal. If you're cool with people I have a problem with, then you're with them. There was no middle ground, no neutrality. You were either on his side or you were an enemy. First came the diss track, Piggy Bank. It appeared on 50's album, The Massacre, which sold over 1 million copies in week 1. That meant millions of people heard 50 attack Joe on a global scale. But 50 wasn't done. He understood something important. Hip-hop beef in the 2000s wasn't just about lyrics. It was about headlines and sales numbers. 50 used every platform available. He released viral videos making fun of Joe. One video was even called Fat Joe's Funeral. He gave interviews trashing his album sales. He turned the beef into a spectacle. The internet was just becoming a major force in hip-hop culture, and 50 knew how to use it. He maintained a constant stream of mockery, and this kept Joe's name in the mud. Then came the 2005 MTV Video Music Awards. Joe was on stage presenting an award. He made a joke about feeling safe with all the police protection, courtesy of G-Unit. 50 Cent was in the audience. He stormed the stage during a commercial break. Later, he yelled that Joe was a coward. Live on national television, the humiliation was complete, and it had real consequences. Joe claims that exact moment cost him a sneaker deal with Michael Jordan's brand. The estimated value, $20 million. 50 Cent beat him in the media. He beat him on the charts, and he made sure everyone knew it. Joe tried to fight back with traditional methods. He released diss tracks like My Fofo and Southside. He gave angry interviews, but every move he made, 50 had an answer. It was like fighting a machine that never stopped. 50 even mocked Joe's album sales publicly, trying to prove the battle wasn't just about lyrics, It was about who was winning commercially. Joe was outmatched from the start. He was fighting a war on 50's terms, not his own. Before 50 Cent, there was another war. This one was quieter, but just as damaging. It was a corporate Cold War with Jay-Z. The beef started in the late 90s at a club called Carbon in Manhattan. Terror Squad and Rockefeller members got into a brawl. The details are fuzzy, but the damage was real. The initial fight reportedly involved Memphis Bleek, not Jay-Z directly, but it escalated tensions between the two camps. The rivalry simmered for years through subliminal disses. Big Pun reportedly acted as Terror Squad's enforcer during this time, even confronting Rockefeller associates in their own offices. Then came the summer of 2003. Jay-Z and Fat Joe both sponsored basketball teams at Rucker Park in Harlem. Their teams made it to the championship game. Jay's team had NBA superstars like LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal, but then a blackout hit to the city. The game was postponed. When it was rescheduled, Jay's team couldn't make it. They forfeited. Joe won by default, and he never let anyone forget it. He bragged about it on his biggest hit, Lean Back. The lyric became legendary. My people didn't have to play to win the championship. Jay-Z responded on Kanye West's song Diamonds Remix. He rapped about pressure and not cracking, a clear shot at Joey Crack. But Joe didn't win this war, not even close. The real battle wasn't on the court or in the booth. It was in the boardroom. Joe says his beef with Jay-Z cost him a multi-million-dollar deal with Reebok. The head of Reebok called him personally. They said they couldn't work with him because he wasn't cool with Harv. Think about that. Jay-Z never had to release a major diss track. He didn't need to. His power was corporate. While Joe was operating on street terms, Jay was controlling access to money. Joe later admitted he played himself. He said having two powerful enemies at once was a squeeze play, and he lost badly. He called it karma for his mistakes. But Joe also admitted that ever since he started working with Jay-Z later, he's been getting paid. Jay-Z almost never responded directly because he didn't have to. He won by making sure the industry chose sides, and they chose Jay. This was a new kind of warfare, one where influence mattered more than aggression. Joe learned the hard way that the rules had changed. The game wasn't about who was tougher anymore. It was about who had more power behind the scenes. But Joe's most painful battle wasn't with the industry rival. It was with family. Cuban Link was an original Terror Squad member. He was there from the start, and their conflict remains the deepest wound on Joe's legacy. The problems began after Big Pun died in 2000. Pun was the group's leader and lyrical genius. His death created chaos. Suddenly, there were fights over money and Pun's legacy. Cuban Link claims Joe made greedy moves even when Pun was alive, but Pun's friendship kept things together. After Pun died, everything fell apart. Terror Squad had been built on the idea of family and loyalty, but now it had to operate like a business, and Joe was forced to become more CEO than brother. Link says Joe actively sabotaged his solo career. He claims record labels wanted to sign him, but when they talked to Joe, the deals collapsed. One executive told Link they had a good relationship with Joe, so it wasn't in their best interest to sign him. Link calls this a betrayal of their street code. He says Joe did dirty business instead of handling it like men. He even said Joe pulled moves like a snitch, going against everything they stood for. The feud also touched Pun's memory. Link suggests Joe mismanaged Pun's legacy for personal gain. He even claimed that Pun wrote some of Joe's verses, including parts of his album Don Cartagena. The beef turned violent. Cuban Link caught stitches in a physical fight, and unlike Joe's other feuds, this one never ended. Cuban Link has been clear. The Fat Joe situation will never be resolved. He says he can't do business with a man like that. This is the permanent scar, the unhealed wound that Joe can't fix. It's the one relationship he couldn't repair with time or apologies. While Joe made peace with industry rivals, his own family remained broken. This betrayal cut deeper than any diss track or lost deal ever could. But here's where the story changes. Despite all these battles, Fat Joe transformed himself. He went from the Don to the diplomat. He learned that some wars aren't worth fighting forever. The reconciliation with Jay-Z came in 2016. Jay agreed to appear on the remix of All the Way Up, Joe's comeback hit with Remy Ma. For Joe, this was a bucket list moment. It had to happen. The two legends finally made peace. It proved that even the coldest corporate wars could eventually thaw. And then came 50 Cent. After 8 years of hatred, tragedy brought them together. In 2012, their mutual friend Chris Lighty died. He was a legendary music executive who managed both of them. At the BET Hip Hop Awards, there was a tribute performance. 50 Cent walked up to Joe on stage. He extended his hand and said, "Peace," for Chris Lighty. Chris Lighty wanted peace. Joe accepted. He later said the moment was amazing. He never thought they would squash their beef. But a real loss cut through all the fake drama. It reminded them what actually mattered. Sometimes it takes losing someone important to realize that pride isn't worth holding on to forever. Death has a way of putting everything in perspective. Fat Joe's career is one of remarkable resilience. He survived wars that would have ended other careers. He lost millions in deals. He was humiliated on live television. He was beaten in headlines and on sales charts. But he learned from every battle. The Cold War with Jay-Z taught him that corporate power beats street credibility. The media blitz from 50 Cent showed him that modern beef is fought on every platform. The internal split with Cuban Link revealed that some bonds, once broken, can't be repaired. And the cultural debate positioned him as an elder statesman wrestling with history. From Flo Joe to all the way up, from street battles to podcast debates, he remains one of hip-hop's most compelling survivors. He didn't just make hits. He navigated the conflicts that defined each era, and he came out with his influence and wisdom intact. Today, Fat Joe is a cultural historian and storyteller. He shares his knowledge through popular podcasts and media appearances. His final act is cementing his legacy not just as an artist, but as someone who helped shape the culture for over 30 years. He proved that survival in hip-hop isn't about avoiding conflict. It's about learning when to fight and when to make peace. His story shows that relevance isn't just about producing hits, but about adapting to each era's and challenges. Joe has successfully transitioned from street warrior to respected elder, a rare achievement in a genre that often discards its pioneers. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, hit that subscribe button and let us know in the comments which hip-hop feud we should cover next.